aboard. Fantastic to have you. And a participant, welcome back. It's great to see this line pride now. We left us this morning. Pete and I and Alex heard them last night vocalising at about 10 o'clock, and some of the Zoomies and people on Facebook, the Djuma junkies, loads of different people, wonderful people, all within this big family of Wild Safari Live, let us know. Lots of tweets as well. So thank you so much, guys. It's really great to have you, and you're all really focused on what we're doing. It's great. We followed it up this morning, and then we came across them right on the road. Scotty saw some ears flick out of the corner of his eye, and sure enough, it was a very interesting location. There was leopard tracks, there was hyena tracks, and there was also lion tracks. So Steph and Scotty were still trying to figure out what happened there. We tracked them, or we followed them, sorry, through this vegetation. They ended up just down a little bit further. We're going to go in there now and have a bit of a look-see. It's 31 degrees Celsius, which is about 87 Fahrenheit, so it's a bit warm. They'll probably still be there. A little bit of a scratchy way in, but just bear with us. Just try and make sure we don't take out too many parts of our vehicle and some of these incredibly sharp thorns. There's not much other way to do this, unfortunately, but we do have to be very careful, A, of the vegetation and our vehicle, to make sure we don't, and my cameraman as well, need to make, and I don't wipe him out with a tree branch. Many of these branches that we go past, folks, you must know that they sound it sounds a lot worse than it actually is, particularly when it comes to scratching down the sides of the vehicle. So these short wheelbases can get in nearly anywhere. Now, I can't remember where, did we go through there, mate? Is there a tyre track there? Do you think so? Okay. Liam's got a little bit more elevation there so you can see, which is great. We'll just squeeze through this little bit just here. Just down there, just a little bit further on, and we're going to just try and follow. I can see my tyre tracks here through the grass. Just going to try and figure out what that location was. So if you do see anything,
well, good afternoon, everyone. And from lions to buffalo, it's guys, sure you enjoyed starting with Hayden there with the lions, but it seems there's a little bit of signal trickery there, and that's sometimes the case. There's a ghost or two that's in the system, but no problem. We've got an exciting afternoon ahead of us. We've been sitting here by this dam behind us, which is Treehouse Dam, just to watch the buffalo, see if anything else comes along. It's quite hot. It's probably in the low 30s centigrade. So let's call it about probably 85, between 85 and 90 Fahrenheit. So a warm afternoon, but pleasant. We were sitting in the shade for a little bit, so a lovely place to sit. And just looking forward to the afternoon. My name is Peter Pretorius. I'll be showing you around. Lovely to have you as my guest on the vehicle. Brian behind the camera. Many of you know Brian for a while already. And I think that's about it for now, really. Not too much to say. I'm hoping to find Nkuhuma, that young male leopard. We've been looking for him since yesterday. I haven't seen him since. We saw his brother Q briefly yesterday. He could be somewhere in the Milwaukee area as well. And I think I've said about 10 times. So I think it's time that I start driving. Let's go look around. Guys, remember, this is a live drive. Anything can happen at any moment. I don't know what's going to happen. Not, same as you. This is just an adventure for me as well. It's nice to have a conversation. You can ask questions or just leave comments. If there's something you enjoy or something you see that you want to mention, feel free to send it in. If you want to tweet, hashtag Safari Live, or you can send questions to questions@WildEarthTV. Please feel free to do so, or otherwise also just
video, correct? Okay, folks. Well, we had a little drop out there. Apologies. We had to jump over to Pete. We just went through a little glitch there, and folks, we're back. Apologies for that little technical glitch. Sometimes when we're in these really remote parts that occurs, but we're back with these beautiful lines, and they are still exactly where we found them. It is 31 degrees, 80 Celsius, and 87 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a little bit on the hot side. There's a beautiful breeze blowing, but they are really knocked out. They've slightly repositioned themselves. They're lying on the cool sand, and they're in the shade of this little baby jackalbird vegetation that's a bit lower, and I thought that they'd still be here for the simple reason that they did have great shade when they chose this spot. The only way that they probably would have moved is if a prey animal presented itself as an opportunity, or they decided they didn't have enough shade. So they've picked a lovely spot. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 I can see from here. Now there's reports of the Nkuhuma hot pride being 8 individuals, and I can't see 8 individuals, so there's a little bit of a story there. I'm not really sure where the other one is. I'm pretty sure that's the only islands I can see, and I counted 7 this morning as well, so unless I'm losing it. Right now, so unless there's an beautiful lines, 7 of them, the Nkuhuma right now. Not really fully formed yet, and won't happen until about 4 to 5 years of age in full sort of 5 years and magnificence. And that mane is the most important thing is we're still with these lines. The lioness and closest to us is probably about, I'd say, 3 to 5 meters, about 15 feet away from our vehicle, and then you've got the other group over the other side. They are really hot, and you can see that individual rolling over to try and get a bit cooler. The flies are really annoying, but I tell you what, they look really blissful in this state, just nice and cool, and there's a beautiful breeze blowing through here, so it's probably happy days in lion land at the moment for these guys. And we're just going to sit with them, a couple of individuals looking up. They sleep soundly, but they've got such an acute sense of hearing and smell, so anything that sort of gives them an inkling to sit up, they normally just roll up on a shoulder and look. They've got to keep their eyes out for loads of different things. This is a non-territorial pride, so they haven't set up a territory yet. This male could get kicked out, which is highly likely with the concentration of lion that we do have in the area, if you get a big coalition. Now, if anyone doesn't know the word coalition, I've never heard it before, it basically means when 2 or more males get together or band together and it has great advantages for a coalition, and their numbers are their strength. Their strength is so much greater, and they can take on. They can protect their pride a lot better. They can protect their females, but they can also hunt much bigger game. Two males in the pride would definitely help when it comes to the big game like buffalo and things like that. But majority of the time, as we most know, most of us know that the females do most of the hunting. Now, just a little bit of information on that. One of the reasons the females are much better at hunting is because that mane, that lion's mane on the male, may look impressive and aid it in fights and battles and things like that, but it can inhibit its ability to stalk, and the females are much sleeker and much more stealthy. Beautiful to just sit with this beautiful Nkuhuma pride, which we're going to sit with for a little bit. If they stay like this for a considerable amount of time, I might leave them and then go and have a look around, and won't even tell Pete, because I really want Pete to come and have a look at this pride. He hasn't seen them for about 7 months, but just as VM goes down that body shape there, the muscularity in that female's body there is like very, very impressive. She is a serious machine, hunting machine, but at the moment a very hot one. Just conserving energy and really just enjoying the shade. So there they are, the whole pride under that tree. Oh, welcome Chris on Twitter and Ria on Twitter. Great to have you with us. Fantastic to be on board with you today. And both of you have asked a similar question, that we do know that the original pride number is 8 individuals in the Nkuhuma pride, but I can only count 7, so who knows where that other individual is. I really can only count 7. VM, what do you think, mate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's not one just around the corner here under the tree, is there? That you can see, mate?
No,
just asking, what do you think, mate?
I only see the ones right here.
Yeah, VM's just got a little bit more of an elevated position up there on the back of the vehicle, so he can only see 7 as well. So the jury's out on that one, folks, so I'm going to have to try and find out from maybe some of the other people around the Djuma and so on, and just get some intelligence on that, because I'm not really sure of what's going on. Welcome, Rita. Great to have you on board in Texas, a fantastic state there in the US. I've been to many a time. And Rita, your question, you can see how many sub-adults are in there. Well, the male sub-adult, it's a strange name because they sort of seem to be a strange word, sometimes, because they look like they're adults, but it just means that they haven't got to their complete size, and I think that male will probably go at another maybe a year and a half or so to get to a bigger size, and maybe a little bit more, and then develop that mane as well. Behind him is 2 adult females. I think the one closest to us, right in front of us, is a sub-adult female. Very difficult when they're lying down. And there's a juvenile, 2. That's a juvenile and another one. So I think we've got 2 sub-adult females, or maybe 1 sub-adult female, 2 juveniles and a sub-adult male. But I think there's 3 really nice big lioness in this, and they've got big square heads when we get closer, or when they wake up and we see them, they've got that big, real sort of heavyweight head that lions have. Perfectly designed for taking down excuse me, huge array of prey, from giraffe. Very rarely would they take on an adult giraffe unless it was injured or it had fallen over or something like that after it was being chased and the opportunity arose. But then again, I've seen giraffe be taken by, I haven't actually seen the giraffe being taken down, but I've seen lion on a giraffe kill many a time. The thing about giraffe is they have an incredible kicking ability. So sorry, just to recap back to Rita, I think there's about 2 sub-adult females, sub-adult male there. But their giraffe situation, they have an incredible kicking ability, giraffe, and I can tell you that firsthand. I was kicked when I was working with them in a zoological situation, and yes, when they connect, it's a very, very fearsome experience, but they can definitely fatally injure a lion. But what will happen sometimes if it's uneasy ground, the lions, it just depends on the terrain and the situation. Every single situation is different, and the lions will see that opportunity if it arises and potentially take it on. But for buffalo and things like that, I mean, there's loads and loads of documentation of them taking baby elephant, baby hippo, sometimes sub-adult hippo, and sometimes they learn a particular strategy or a particular skill. There has been some studies done that have seen some lions actually go into the regular positions when hunting. So just like a football team, some are better at playing in the one position than others. Hi Deborah in Canada, in Ontario, another one fantastic place I've been to. Welcome aboard and great to have you with us. And you're asking if a female lion had TB, would it pass on the TB virus to her cubs? And the answer to that is sadly yes. So unfortunately it would be passed on, and who knows if they would survive. Some animals can be exposed to TB and actually survive, have a TB antibody in their body that is quite high, but it just depends on the situation and the vigour, I suppose, of the animals at the time. So we're sitting here, if you've just joined us, with some sleeping lions, some flat cats. But they're starting to stir a little bit, and one of the key signals is when they start to yawn. If they all sort of start to yawn, that's a real key signal for them that they're starting to get ready to be active. At the moment, it's 31 degrees centigrade and 87 degrees Fahrenheit, so I think they're going to be like this for a little bit. So it's just beautiful to look at some pictures there of those incredible creatures. Africa's largest and most imposing carnivore, these lions, and we're really lucky to be in their presence. I think it's a great time. There's not a great deal that's going to happen here in the next 15 minutes, so it's a great time to cross over and see what Mr. Pretorius is up to. Peter Pretorius is out in the jigger, and let's go and see what Pete's up to. We'll see you just now.
Well, welcome back this side. Good to know the lions are there in their traditional flat cat position, but it's still fairly warm. We've got about 2 hours to sunset, and as we get closer to sunset, we'll get closer to them getting active. We've just been driving along one of the main, what we call cut lines, or main sort of, you can call it like a national road if you want. It's one of the main roads, going onto one of the smaller tracks again. Now, we're not that far from Treehouse Dam, where we said good afternoon from earlier. And at the same time, just going back to that, guys, just apologies for that bit of technical issues earlier. You think it's difficult to track a leopard through the bush and to find them. It's difficult to find a group of lions. The guys that do a really tough job are the guys that make sure that through all the different things, from every little cable, from the camera to the mast to the signal and the satellites, everything to get you from where you are in the world to this moment, sharing it in the bush with us. That is a massive task, and the guys working on that are not only super intelligent and very bright, but also very dedicated. I think few people on this team work harder than them. So apologies for that earlier, but I'm sure you can understand as well that we are just fine-tuning and retuning a couple of things building up to the weekend. Speaking of the weekend, it is of course Mother's Day on Sunday, and that is one thing that we all have in common. We all have a mother, and we all are very grateful to have one, because without her, apart from a million other things, just physically speaking, we wouldn't even be here. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a very special privilege to share a game drive with many of you who are mothers, and all of you who have a mother on Sunday. So getting ready for that. As I said, we're just going back to Treehouse Dam where we started earlier. There were some buffalo, but I just want to go and have a look around there and see if there maybe isn't something else. And I'd love to hear one or two questions. Maybe you've got something to ask us. Maybe you want to ask, I don't know what you want to ask. That's for you to decide. But if you have anything to ask, feel free to do so. We can just start a general conversation on the vehicle about what you ask. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV. Well, let's have a look. As I said just now, we are sort of sneaking up, if you want, on the waterhole ahead. I expect to find some buffalo there because they were there earlier. And when we were leaving, there were also quite a bit of general game. Impala, the sort of, call it the white-tailed deer of Africa. There were some nyala, warthogs. So we'll see. It's just around 2 more turns. Let's see if anything has changed there. That's the one thing with the warthog. Even if you've only been away for a few seconds, never mind a few minutes or more, it can have changed altogether. And that we'll see shortly. We have been very fortunate the last couple of weeks, as it's getting drier here in Djuma Game Reserve, that every warthog we get to normally has got something. And I don't know, maybe we can start with this guy close to us. He's got the good life at the moment. You can see he's busy chewing a cud. Quite windy this afternoon, more so than we've had in the last week or two. Lots of oxpecker noise. You hear that churr, churr, churr. Those are mainly red-billed oxpeckers. They're just telling the buffalo that there's something here, which is us. As I said, this buffalo has got the good life. He's got busy chewing a cud, so he's got a stomach full of grass, and he's just busy ruminating, is what you call it. So that first big chamber of his sort of different chambers in his stomach, the main stomach or the rumen, he's regurgitated some of the grass from then. He's just chewing it again, grinding it down to a fine paste to get the maximum benefit from the food he's eating.
Do you think it's tasty?
I think if you're a buffalo, it's tasty. If you have to ask yourself what is tasty to animals, I'd hate to have a hyena's diet, but I'm not a hyena, luckily. There's all the oxpeckers we can hear calling. To come back to Brian's question there, is the cud tasty? You know what, buffalo look very content when they do it, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of sort of meditation type of aspect to it. When you get into like a, I've got blank. What do you call it? When you go, there's a word for it. You go into that sort of meditative state almost, but there's a proper term for it that I just cannot for the life of me remember now.
Transcendental state.
Yeah, something like that. He just gets into this sort of where the brain waves go into like this placid, happy place, and he's just chewing his cud. Especially when you're relaxing in the water, there's a bit of a breeze blowing. You can see they're all pretty happy. That one is not dead, don't worry. Only looks like it. He just rolled over. He won't lie like that very long. It's not a very comfortable position for a buffalo, but he just rolled over a little bit, having a proper nap. Remember, was it, Brian, I'm sure you were on camera with me last year November for the drives. There was one buffalo at Gari Dam that used to prop himself up on his horn. Remember that? He'd use his one horn almost like in Africa you get these, I know this is going to sound counterintuitive, but in Africa you get these wooden pillows. Pillow is maybe the wrong word, but these wooden headrests is the right word, or a head bench or a head seat. It's just a little wooden carved like a miniature chair that you put under your head when you want to sleep, and the buffalo use these horns pretty much like that. So the oxpeckers are very active. It's partly, I think, because we've got other antelope coming down for a drink. Beautiful view that's going to develop into just there to the left. One of my favorite antelopes. We actually just further back when we were driving in the riverbed, we saw a very close cousin to them, the bushbuck. And these ones, I think you could be forgiven for calling them Bambi. They're very Bambi-esque in appearance. Beautiful antelope. These are all females. And they are called Nyala, except for that one. That one is an impala mimicking a Nyala. You can see the color very similar. Obviously the Nyala have got all those stripes on the body and a little bit of spotting at the back of the legs, just around the rump area. Those spots and stripes just help to break the shape or break the outline of the body, and that makes them better at camouflaging or hiding in the bush. The Impala slightly different coloration. I'm partly just joking. There are lots of Impala further back. We can't really see them from here, but there is a whole herd of them in the bush. And then some more buffalo. Lots of them doing what buffalo do best when it's hot and there's a waterhole close by. Pretty much as little as possible. Good day to take it easy, ruminate a little bit, lie in the mud, swat a few flies that are flying around you. This one in front of us here is, I think the flies just went to sit down. Just now when he got up there were about, I think 5 or 6 less than 1 million flies flying around him. It was difficult to count. It's very difficult to count flies because they move so fast, and also you have to count the wings and then divide it by 2 afterwards. So it's a very, very intricate process to count flies. Guys, I think that's what happens. He's chewing his cud, he's happy. He just zones out, I think. Speaking of happy and speaking of taking it easy, I think we're going to move along slowly, shortly. I just want to sit here another minute or two and listen a little bit. But from the buffalo, relaxing at the waterhole, I think we're probably going to go over to Hayden again soon. He's got some lions that are lying around, but just to catch up with him. he just zones out, I think. Speaking of happy and speaking of taking it easy, I think we're going to move along slowly shortly. I just want to sit here another minute or two and listen a little bit. But from the buffalo, relaxing at the waterhole, I think we're probably going to go over to Hayden again soon. He's got some lions that are lying around, but just to catch up with him.
Well, we are still here with these beautiful, beautiful animals, and this female here in front of us just rolled over and has given us a beautiful opportunity to have a look at those fantastic features. Fantastic features. The hunting machine, as I said before, Africa's largest carnivore in all its glory, right in front of us, about 2 meters, about 6-7 feet in front of the vehicle, and it's just great to be with them. They're still resting up in the shade. This is the Nkuhuma pride, if you've just joined us. Supposedly 8 individuals, we can only count 7, so the jury's out, as I said before. What's going on there, don't really know. But I have to say, there was a very, very interesting situation this morning that Steph and Scott found. So there was all different tracks and signs of leopard and lion and hyena as well all around the area. So we just don't know what happened there this morning. Not sure. There's this female has just gotten up and is greeting another one. So there's a little bit of movement at the station, as they say. Sometimes they can just reposition themselves if she's lying in the sun a little bit too much and just gets into a cooler spot. Yep, that's what it was. A little bit of sunshine. The sun's starting to get a little bit lower in the sky, and they will reposition as the shade moves around as well. So I just touched on very briefly about that mane on the male. A lot of people ask questions about the mane on the males and when they develop and so on, and they start to develop, you know, at about a year or 2 you get that little bit of extra hair growing, and then at about 5 they sort of fully develop, about up to 4 to 5 years of age. And we mentioned as well that they are They serve a few purposes, not only to make them look incredibly and big and impressive, but also to protect their head and shoulders and neck from any altercations that they have with other males. This is a sub-adult, one of the sub-adults, I think. Well, this is a juvenile sub-adult, sort of on the verge. I'd say it's a juvenile. Just lying down, just getting into a better position as well. But yeah, what I was touching on with that mane was the whole thing about it is, one of the theories is that the reason why they're not as successful as the females at hunting is because that mane can become a little bit conspicuous when they're trying to get through grass. The females are much more sleek, and they definitely have an ability to go undercover a little bit more than the males do. But males will, you know, if you've got these coalitions, these big coalitions of 2 or 3 males, they'll start to take on much bigger prey, you know, the big male buffalo, and as I said, even a bull giraffe. But they would probably be lying down, a bull giraffe, and they'd get a surprise from a big pride. But I think they did feed a few days ago, so they're not super hungry. But again, opportunity arises, they'll do it. Just behind that vegetation. Now the reason, folks, I'm not going any closer, or I'm not trying to get into a different position, the first one is because I don't want to make them feel uneasy. They're so content, so happy, so relaxed. We have no desire to get any closer and disturb them in that blissful state. And the other reason is that we don't actually have another vantage point better than this. So I think we're just going to stay put for the minute. It's a great pleasure to be sitting here in the middle of the African bush with these beautiful creatures, the Nkuhuma pride, and they're just chilling. Most people would probably know that the pride consists of normally related females. Sometimes a nomadic female will be recruited if numbers are low. I think I mentioned it yesterday that the numbers of females or the size of the pride really does depend on food availability, and if there's not enough food, this is a sort of quite a sort of straight way to talk about it. Excess females will be dispersed, but if the numbers food is really available and the numbers aren't down, the pride may take in some of these occasional nomadic females. It's very, very sort of quite an organic sort of thing. Lots of different politics going on with territories and things like that as well. So it's quite complex, but at the moment it doesn't look very complex there. They look like they're just very social and having a nice chill. Hi Lisa. Lisa's given us a question on email. Great to have you on board with us today. And your question is, what is the biggest pride I've ever been with? I sat with a pride in Uganda in Queen Elizabeth National Park once that was about 17 strong. That was probably the biggest one I've ever sat with. There's been many a bigger pride than that. Sometimes what happens, Lisa, is you'll start to get these coalitions of males, which we touched on earlier. Now, the coalition of male situation is a very interesting one. It allows the animals to monopolize the whole reproductive process. They've got great power. They've got a really, really strong force behind them. So the advantages are really all about numbers and that protection. In an area like this, coalitions do occur quite regularly, and this male could be easily kicked out and have to go off and be a loner for a little while and maybe find another pride or another female. But they definitely have to watch themselves, because there's a lot of big coalitions around. We did see a coalition of 5 males here, were potentially brothers, which we're pretty sure they were. And they were a force to be reckoned with. So if they stay as 5, which is normal, which is a little bit above average of the bigger coalitions, they get up to 4 regularly, but 5 is quite extraordinary. And they sometimes get bigger. It becomes a little bit like gang warfare. It's just one, and then again, one would think that that's a great advantage. You know, the bigger the gang, the stronger. But that can cause also a lot of unrest in the pride, and can actually work against the pride's success, because there's just so much instability in the pride. Very, very complex. So to answer your question, Lisa, 17 is the biggest I've ever been. And just an added note, they were tree climbing lines as well, which was extraordinary to see them up in beautiful ficus trees on the Queen Elizabeth National Park boundary, hanging in trees to get away from biting flies and get a bit of a breeze. But thank you very much, Lisa, for joining us, and a great question. Thank you. Katrina, welcome aboard. Katrina's tweeted us, and thanks for coming along today, Katrina. You've picked a fantastic day to be with us. If you're always with us, brilliant. If it's a first time, again, welcome aboard. We've definitely got a lovely situation sitting here with these lines. And your question, Katrina, is if there was a line in the tree, would these lines be able to get it down? Well, I suppose the answer to that is how high. Lions are very ungainly climbers. They can climb. They're nowhere near as elegant as a leopard, that's for sure. They don't haul their kills up trees and don't have that advantage. Their sheer bulk doesn't make them fantastic climbers. They get up to a certain spot on a tree. It's quite amusing to watch. Coming down is not the most elegant of affairs, that's for sure. They do have a tendency to stumble down, sometimes fall out of the tree. But a lot of the time, our leopards will haul their kill so high up in a tree that a lion just has no chance, and they just move on. They might sort of sit around for a while and try and get some bits that drop out, but then again, hyenas also do that. But to answer your question, would they take a kill out of a tree? Only if it was low enough for them to get out, and their sheer bulk makes them a little bit ungainly up there. So thanks a lot, Katrina, and hopefully you're going to stick with us all afternoon and again. Great to have you on board. A question from Jimmerlin in Oklahoma. Welcome, Jimmerlin. Your question, if Q or another leopard came up to these lions, what would happen? Well, I think the first instance, Jimmerlin, that leopard wouldn't approach these lions at all. Leopards steer a very wide berth around lion. The numbers of these, sheer numbers and power of these lion, the leopard would definitely make a hasty retreat. If it was just one lion and the leopard had cubs, she might put up a bit more of a, I don't know, it depends on the age of the lion, it depends on so many things, Jimmerlin, but, you know, ultimately they would completely overpower a leopard. So a leopard would steer a very, very wide berth around them. But a female might protect her cubs if it was a young lion approaching them. So thanks for being on board, Jimmerlin. Just beautiful pictures, just going over. Just lovely to sit, and it's really nice just to observe like the anatomy of the lion and the physiology just really closely and gently like we are. VM's doing some beautiful pictures of them. You can see that individual down there. It's got its back leg up there and its legs open like that, cooling itself. It's a really classic sort of lion position. When they lie on their back, they just lie there and just try and get as much cool air flowing over them as they possibly can. Comfortable. When they do start to go into a deeper sleep, you start to see it fall down, and then they correct it, and then they fall down again. You can see it. There we go. Trent in Fiji, fantastic to have you on board again, Trent. Wonderful, wonderful place you're in as well in the South Pacific. Trent wants to know, and it's a really good question, Trent, why do lions spend so much time? Is it sleeping, or do they not have anything better to do? Is there not enough entertainment around here? No, it's seriously, reason being is they just try and conserve their energy. They sleep anywhere up to 20 hours a day sometimes, depending on food availability, but they can be active any time of the day as well. They're more active sort of in the part of the day, where they'll probably go hunting for sort of 4 to 5 hours, depending on their success rate. And yeah, they spend a lot of time like this. That's what lions do. They really do. Yeah, in the late afternoon, the sort of cat-like, domestic cat-like behaviours that you see if you've got a cat, facial rubbing and communicating with each other, mothers suckling their cubs, that sort of thing. But generally, it's a bit like this. So if they're really, really hungry, there might be an urge to go and hunt. But again, Trent, they can be active at any time of the day, but more likely in the late afternoon, early evening, into the night. And depending on their hunting success, but spending sometimes up to 18 to 20 hours a day doing exactly this. Thanks a lot, Trent. I hope Fiji is beautiful and sunny as always. I just want to give a little shout out to a friend of mine that I know is watching today, Amy, in England. Just to say hi to her. I know these are some of her favourite animals on the planet, and bringing these pictures to you live, Amy, from Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands is a great pleasure, mate. So I hope you're enjoying this. Great to have you on board, matey. So, welcome to this beautiful Lime Pride again. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful place to be. And if you've just joined us, it's a great, great place to be, sitting with these lions. You wouldn't know they were here if you just came past, if you were walking. Lions can lie invisible in about 30 centimetres or about 12 inches of grass. Flat on their side. You might just see a tail flick up in the air to get flies off them or something like that. Very easy to stumble upon lion in this situation, so always have to have your wits about you, which is the sort of thing that Steph and Scotty always keep an eye out for, highly trained about doing this sort of thing, and really looking forward to getting them crossing to them in the coming days with those live walks. So whilst we're sitting here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, still trying to count them, I think I'm missing one somewhere. Maybe I am. I think it's a good time to cross over to Pete and see what he's up to. Pete's always going around these different roads that he hasn't been down for a while and always coming across something fantastic. So we'll see you just now. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Well, welcome back this side. And we have some elephants, but I'm just trying to find the best way in here. It's a little bit sort of brush, thick bush brush mix here. It's not big trees, it's not small bushes, it's sort of a brush mix, if you know what I mean. We'll have a look at them, and we're not very far from Gari Waterhole, the big waterhole close to where our camp is. So I'm hoping we'll still get them drinking later on. This morning after the game drive heading back, we actually had a beautiful herd of elephants down at the waterhole. And I think we'll get a good view from up here. I'm hoping it's that herd with that fantastic young character, that young elephant that had that very, very entertaining mock charge with us the other day, and then again with Hayden as well. It was yesterday. So see, there's more of them. A few flies. Awesome. This is not a bad place to get in. There's a couple of young ones. It's a mature female there. Oh, yeah, we've got one youngster already. Where is he? Look at that one. No, he stopped again. He was going to come give us a little look. Let me try and go a bit forward. So there's three young ones playing. Oh guys, sorry, that was a stick banging on the car there. Yeah, I'm wondering if that's our little guy. Reminds me of him.
It does look like him.
When they're still very small, it's not that easy to recognize them. One of the best ways to ID elephant are using notches on the ears, little cuts and nicks and holes in the ears. And then when they're very young, the ears are normally still quite perfect around the edges, so it's not that easy to get to know them unless you spend time with them. Let me just see, where shall we go? A little bit forward. Just giving us a look there. That's the mum. Right, this is a good spot. Bit of an opening around the termite mound here. Look at that. You see how she's giving us big ears, high head posture. Just saying, listen, don't you be harassing my youngster. Not that we are. Lovely. Beautiful female that. She really is in her peak. Great condition, big, healthy. I can sort of tell you my plan for the rest of the day. Pretty much going to stick with these elephants. I have a very strong feeling they are heading down towards the water. It might take them an hour or two still. It might just take them the next 20 minutes. It's quite funny. Sometimes they're busy feeding, busy eating, a bit of grass, bit of leaves. And then at some stage the matriarch will just decide, listen, it's time to go. Let's go down to the water. Don't think it's there yet. But I also don't think it's going to take the whole day for them to go drink. So we're going to spend quite a lot of time with them. then once, what's the young one doing? Once we can get down to the water, we'll join them down there. With so many young ones, this specific herd, it's got a lot of youngsters in the group. Sort of young ones, teenagers, kind of elephant that when they get down to the waterhole can be a lot of fun. They can start playing around with each other and with bird life around the waterhole. So yeah, it's going to be an elephant afternoon, I think. We've been very lucky with elephant the last few days. And then closer to sunset, of course, always down at Gowrie Waterhole, this area. Always the possibility of hoping at least for a leopard to pop out somewhere. And also those lions that Hayden has been with. The later the afternoon, the closer we are to them getting active. They will get active. I do want to try and get past them myself as well. I just haven't seen that pride since when we were here last in November, December. So I'd love to just catch up with them and see what they're up to. But for now, I can't ask for anything better than just beautiful herd of elephants, nice and relaxed with our presence as well. That's a beautiful female, huh? Sure. Right in the ear, if you look very, this maybe not now, I'll try and show you later, just to show you some of the notches and markings I've been talking about. That female has got a perfect little sort of keyhole in the ear, but very, very small, so a bit difficult to show out or to point out so quickly. I think that's our guy. The one on the left-hand side of those two, or the smaller, you know, the left-hand to one of the two smaller ones. Or let me put it differently, the one under the trunk. I think that's the one that's been playing around with us. And the right-hand one, you can see it's just got those tiny little tusks, if you look very carefully. Just, now it's turning. Oh, look on the left here. It's just so nice. This young female came walking straight over to us. She was about 30 yards away, and she just came walking right towards us, stopped at about 7 or 8 yards away, purely just to come have a look. She had a bit of a swagger, almost. There we go again. Look at that. Yes. And then she sort of wants to give us a bit of a playful head shake, and then she pretends to eat again. Not quite sure what she wants to do, but she is certainly curious about us. Amazing animals. I don't just mean that in the sense of, you know, how they built. Biggest mammal in the world, definitely the biggest ears of anything in the world, definitely the longest nose of anything in the world. Lots of biggest and longest and tallest and heaviest. But also, and this is an interesting one that people don't always realize, the most intelligent land mammal, I dare to say, in the world. But generally speaking, considered the most intelligent land mammal after us. And I think maybe we're a bit biased just because we are all humans, so we like to think we're the brightest. That must feel good. Little backside scratched against the marula tree. It's considered that elephants are more intelligent even than chimpanzees, orangutans, gorillas. We understand those primates easier because they're closer to us in terms of behavior and, well, genetics even. But elephants are highly evolved, highly intelligent, and very interesting animals. Well, she's walking off, so I think we can move again a little bit. Wait, maybe I'll move the other direction since there's a tree in front of us. That's one of the young ones. They're sort of spread out all over the place at the moment. And as I said a little bit earlier, my plan is pretty much to just stay with them. Nice herd of elephants, lots of young ones in them, so seeing them down at the waterhole would be a treat, I can promise you that. But I know where they are, they're not going to disappear, many of them, and they're quite big. Right, let's have a look at this one quickly, and then I just want to go take a short drive. There was a nice big herd of impala further onto this sort of more open area. Go have a look at those impala, see what they're up to. And we'll come back to these ellies, but for now, let's just have a last look. Hey, you two. Almost certainly mother and calf. Although I say that, I mean, almost certainly. Elephants are also very, very good at helping each other and looking after each other's young ones, so they would gladly babysit any of the other young ones in the group, or just sort of share company as well. That young one, pretty good with using that trunk. But elephants practice that ability as well. They don't just wake up one morning and suddenly they can use their trunk. That's something that they practice over years. When they get, even when they're sort of 10, 15, 20, they're still learning new ways or better ways of using their trunks. Let's see if we can find those impalas, and then we'll make our way back to these ellies. They're just going into a thick area now. This area to our right, I've been through a number of times following leopard, and it's very noisy. You know, those sticks that sort of bang up against the car, and I'd rather let them make their way through it at their own time, and we'll catch them again on the other side when they get into the more open area, and then we're going to go down to the waterhole with them. See them not only drink, but hopefully get those young ones playing a little bit. Good afternoon, Diana. Diana is just wondering, that young elephant that we've had such amazing experiences with a couple of days ago, that mock charge slash play. It was also curious and investigating us, and stood on his back legs at some stage. Had it with Hayden the next day when it was coming up, that same day, the afternoon, and actually coming right up to his car to investigate it. And Hayden was explaining it so beautifully. He said, you know what, Peter, he doesn't say Peter, he says Peter. This elephant came right up. I'm not very good in Australian accent, so I'm not going to try. But he says the elephant came right up to me, mate, and he came right up to the car, and his trunk just came out like this, and just touched it, and then like turned around. So a little bit nervous, but obviously wanting to check us out. Now, Diane is asking, when will that behavior, will it stop, or will it continue? And if it doesn't stop, when will it become not so much fun anymore? I have to admit that Ellie, and this is the herd, it's such a nice relaxed herd. In other words, the behavior he's learning from the adults in his group, from his mother, from his aunts, and from his cousins, is that they are pretty relaxed. So that would tell me they do spend a lot of their time in probably Sabi Sands area where they used to vehicles, and they're very comfortable with vehicles. So firstly, it's not that one day he's just going to suddenly become like an aggressive elephant. He's growing up around elephants that are well used to vehicles. Will it stop? Possibly. You know, it could just be a curiosity phase he's going through now, and later on he decides, you know, does other things again. But my feeling would be, in fact, I've even said it to a couple of guys, you know, just sort of chatting. It would be great. Imagine just imagine for a few seconds with me. Imagine we could dedicate a team of people. I'd gladly volunteer. So listen, we're gonna spend an amount of time, a few months, a year, or the whole time, and we're gonna follow this elephant, really get to know him, see him grow up, do like a 20-year expanded thing with him. That elephant, I think, has got a specific capacity to really be interested in us. Along the way, in my guiding career, working at Djuma and Pilansberg and other places I've seen and been, I've always found there are certain elephants that just have a disposition, or just have this curiosity about us. The same as humans. I mean, none of us are the same. We know this. You know, me and you and Brian and your friends and your family and people you don't even know on the game drive with us at the moment, we all differ. We might have, in our case, we all have something in common. We like wildlife, we're interested in it, we're passionate about it, and therefore we can get along quite well, but we all are very different. And the same is exactly the case with animals, and even more so with elephants, because they are very intelligent animals. So that little guy, I think, has got the potential to become a great character, because I have a feeling that that curious behavior will continue to grow. And that mock charge, I don't think, will become an aggressive charge. He was just playing around with us. Oh, beautiful. These are the same impala, actually the big herd that in November, December again, we were having all the lambs being born. And that's always a big highlight for me, and I know for many people coming out here around that time of year. It's such a stunning thing to see all these baby animals. What's also amazing is how quickly they grow. I'm going to try and show you a specific example. Let's see, that is an adult female. That's another adult female. As soon as we see one, I'll show you. But some of these young ones, there's the young one. That one on the left-hand side, that's an adult female. You see, it's very difficult. There we go. The one walking is an adult. The one standing still with the little horns, that's about 6 months old. Point being that the ones that are 6 months old and the ones that are mature are very, very nearly the same size already. They grow very, very quickly. I mean, impalas, within seconds or minutes at the most after birth, they are up and running around, or up and walking around. And they grow very quickly as well. They have to. If they want to survive, they need to be quick. A little bit of a windy afternoon. I mentioned it earlier, and you could hear it a few times, I'm sure, but almost a slightly different weather coming in. Guys, just the things you're seeing in the background there, we are literally just behind camp. We are 200 yards away from camp, so the mast that you might notice, that's the very important part of what we're doing. Without that mast, you wouldn't be able to join us. And these impala are slightly jittery, maybe is the word. I think partly with just this wind blowing, you know, that does sometimes unnerve them a little bit. Wind like this is normally a better benefit for predators than for these guys. stunning afternoon. Light is starting to get that slightly softer feel now, later afternoon time. A couple of big termite mounds there, very sort of African thing. I think people often associate termite mounds also with Africa. That is, of course, the proverbial tip of the iceberg. The majority of that colony's activity is underground. Let's follow these guys a bit. They seem to be changing their location a little bit, heading more up to the slightly higher ground. There's the one male, and he's been causing some of the activity. He looks very alert. I wonder what he's seeing. Just the way he's standing, also those ones around him. No alarm calls, so I don't think they've seen something yet. But let's just keep an eye on this. This could be interesting. This is very interesting. We've been sitting with these impalas for a little while now, but that male is definitely looking alert. Now, he was chasing around a young male earlier, a young impala ram that he's starting to push out now as we're getting closer to the rut. So it could be that he's watching that, but those females were also looking quite alert. Look how they're facing different directions. I don't think there's something specific, but I do think, as I said just now, that with the wind picking up a little bit, wind normally makes the animals a little bit more not uncomfortable, but a little bit more sort of uneasy, I guess. Just wind can hide the sound from animals moving better, as well as their movement, because everything is moving a little bit. All the grass and the twigs, if you look around those impala, you'll see there's movement in the wind, and that's all things that could help actually sort of help with the disguise or the camouflage of a predator. So they're just a little bit more nervous. Plus, we haven't had any wind really the last, well, since we've been here, which is about a week now. So just a little bit of unease for them, but nothing major. And I don't think that was anything. The male, you can see, is coming back. He's maybe more just looking for potential. Oh, of course, he goes and hides behind the termite mound. And I guarantee you, as soon as we move, he's going to start walking. But we are getting up to the rutting season now. This is something we'll be talking about every so often over the next few weeks on the game drives, is the mating season or the rut for the impala. Other animals as well, but the impala are the most prevalent. Okay, that's what he was looking at. There you can see him turning again. Okay, difficult to see where I'm sitting. I could just spot him. But that young male that he chased out earlier is trying to come back to the herd. And this guy is just reminding him, hey, I'm not going to stand for that. Go join a bachelor group. You are now done with living in the female herds. Good looking male, this. Look at the shoulders and the neck, nice and strong, nice big neck. He would be between 4 and 6 years old. That's normally the sort of main dominant guys. Let's see if he runs off again. The males in the rutting season, they showing off would be the wrong way of putting it, but they like to show how fit they are. They like to show the other animals and the females, they look at me, I'm in good condition, I can run fast, I can chase young males away, because it's important. The fitter they come across, the stronger they are, the better chance they will have at mating with females and ultimately passing their genetics on again. very, very good condition. Good afternoon, Ria. Nice to have you on drive with us. You're just wondering how wide ranging, in other words, how far do impala move? Again, I'm sure that would vary quite a lot depending on a lot of circumstances. Habitat would play a big role, population density, in other words, how many other impalas, how many other similar antelopes, in other words, other competitors like, wildebeest, zebra, and so forth. Predator density would play a role. But these herds move around, typically speaking, a couple of thousand hectares. So let's say probably around 1,000 to 3,000 hectares home ranges. They're not territorial. Impalas aren't like leopard, for instance, that have a very specific territory that they protect against other animals. They will allow other impala to come through, but they have home ranges, certain areas that they live in and stay in. Little fluff of the white tail there, making sure that the females know he's in good condition and fit and healthy. Right, well, I think we're going to leave these impalas shortly. Let's take one more question on them, and then we're going to go back to those ellies and see how far they are. Hello Trent, nice to have you on drive again. It's not that many people in Fiji that's on drive, so nice to hear from you. He's just referring to the impala's tails. Now this male actually at the moment is really showing us his tail, but Trent was just asking, when impalas are being alert, why is the tail tucked in? Now let's just, well actually that's the perfect example. Let's look at this male. Look at the markings on the tail. The white was very prevalent just now, very obvious, but also those three black lines. Very, very visual. You could easily see that. So basically, these impalas, they use a lot of visual communication. So they use sound. They've got warning sounds. When there's danger, they go. Ch, ch. Don't want to make it too loud because then they're going to think there's danger. But and the tail down would mean that it's pretty normal. So let's get back to this again. If we look at these guys, there's a lot of tail flicking going on. Let's try and get you a good example. There we go. Right down the tail end of these impala. So lots of tail flicking would mean firstly there's flies, but secondly also that they're nice and relaxed. There's no concern. The other impalas can see the tails are swishing every now and again. The tail between the legs, or when it's still, would also not be a major concern. So if they are looking at something, the posture will alert other animals that they're looking at something. But if they then see something and make the alarm call, that sort of barking that I just made, and they're running away. When they run away from something, that tail lifts up. So then you've got the white stripes on the backside and the white flash from underneath the tail, and that would also signify or show danger to other impalas. So there's a bit of a sort of brake lights and tail lights and indicator lights kind of aspect to the tail markings on these impala. Alrighty. Great that the impala herds are back, or this specific herd. I like this group. Always great when you see animals in relatively large numbers. And also means that the leopards might be back. Because they come past and there's not much activity, then they go on again. If they come past and they smell, okay, there's been a couple of hundred impala here lately, then the leopards could stick around a bit. We're just going to head back down to where those elephants were, and I'm hoping by now they've moved through that thick stuff, slowly making their way towards a more open area, which will be great for us in terms of viewing them. And then I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to see them having a drink, and if we're very lucky, swimming and playing down at the waterhole as well. So let's go see. Well guys, HT is also out there looking for things, and don't go away, and you're going to see a bird with him. Enjoy it.
Give it a go. So folks, what we have in the screen at the moment, a beautiful picture of a bird that's a common resident. We see them loads of times, but you don't often see them sitting this still. It's a grey lowry or lory. It's also known as the go-away bird. Many people know this bird. There's one vocalizing in the background as I speak. That's not my app, by the way. It's a real-time call of a go-away bird or a grey lory, and they're a beautiful little sort of ash grey sort of. They're a turaco. He's flown. Okay, they've landed right up on a tree. But I'll just show you here on this app what they. I'm sure you saw a good picture of it. That's it with that beautiful crest just here. That sort of feathery crest. If anyone's ever seen a mouse bird as well, they look a little bit like a mouse bird, but a much bigger version. That's what they look like when they're flying. But it's this fantastic call. You hear that, go away, go away. And it's sort of, it can be a call that is heard as an alarm call when there's a predator approaching, or they do it when humans are approaching a lot as well. But just a great little bird. We just saw them as we pulled up to this water point here, just sitting there peacefully. There's 3 of them there when we started. This hippo is still in here. There's not a great deal else around. Our grey heron friend, we came down here the other day, which was quite amusing. Our grey heron friend was standing on top of the back of the hippo again, and the hippo was moving across the dam, and the heron was just standing on its back, just getting a ride across. It's an incredible adaptation actually, because what the grey heron's doing is feeding in waters that it can't normally reach, because it stands on the water's edge normally. But anyway, we're going to crack on and see what we can find. So I should bring you up to speed. Just picked up that bird. But the reason why I've left the lines, folks, is because they're flat. They'll stay like that for quite some time. And the other thing is I really want Pete to see them. And I've let the other radios know on the Game Drive channel that the location, what we did is we broke a small branch off, and we put a small branch on the road to give an indicator of where that location is, the track's in. And then the other guides will do is see that and then go in and find those lines there. So you want Pete to come back and check those out. So
you're back with us in the vehicle, I think. That happened quite quickly.